So there's a few things that I wanted to talk about that I personally got out of this module, which was a lot about assessments and accommodations. I feel like there really was a theme that I took for myself, which was access, um, and that's seen through accommodations, appropriate modifications, um, access to high standard curriculum, access to these state and district tests, um, and then using data to make that appropriate plan that is right for these students so that they do have the most access. So, accommodations, services, and support that we utilize for our students so that they can access the material um, and show what they can do without their disability interfering with that. There are things like graphic organizers, interpreters, a quiet room to test in. Um, they're very important and they make night and day difference. I think what the module talked about was um, being very selective with what accommodations you use, making sure that they are appropriate for the student, that they're being monitored and tracked, um, that to see if they are effective or if they need to be changed. Maybe they have accommodations that aren't even working for them, um, and perhaps they need other accommodations um, so that they can be successful, or even modifications. As we know, modifications do change the expectation of the learning sometimes and of the assessment of the standard. So it's a little bit bigger of a change, um, and they can be used when accommodations are not effective, but they should be used with caution. We have to be careful not to dumb down the material and just lower the bar for our students to meet them where they're at. We want to lift them up um, to where they can be, because they can learn, they can get there, and they can be successful um, within the general education curriculum. I think that's a good baseline for us to start with, and then go from there. Next, I'd like to talk about data, which I felt like was a really important topic within this module, and also really hard for me to understand. Um, I am so much about that human connection, and intuitively doing what is right for the student, um, but we need data. It's such a big part of what we do. We need to collect it um, to make sure that our students are actually understanding what we're teaching. We need it for the goals we're creating for them and the benchmarks, to make sure they're meeting those benchmarks. And we need it to build a case so that they can receive services and continue to receive services if they need it, um, or move them on into general education if they don't need the services. Um, so data is very important. Um, the module talked about sort of looking at data with a critical eye, um, and taking in considerations, um, excuse me, how a small group can data from a small group can be affected by a change because it is a smaller pool of people. Um, or we should consider what categories of disabilities are being represented in the data, what accommodations are used among the students in the data pool. Um, Graphs are very helpful to look not only um, at the data of your current classroom, but also looking at classrooms throughout several years, or multiple classrooms within the same year to see what is working, what is not working, as far as methods, strategies, even accommodations. Um, so this sort of segues me into this idea of access. Something the module said that really stuck with me was students with exceptionality should be included in the accountability system, which includes standardized testing. Students should have access to the general curriculum and should be working toward the same standards as other students. I have a coworker of mine who has a son, Jacob, with Down syndrome, who's just entering kindergarten. Um, and when she found out I was in this program, she asked me to be an advocate for her son. Of course, I'm not in the field yet. I don't really have much to offer except for what I've learned in this class, and to share her rights with her and share the rights of her son, and sort of advocate for her as a friend, but not as a teacher yet. So her story is that she was bringing her son Jacob into school for the first time to look at the school. He's so excited. He's this great social kid. And the school wanted to place him in a room with kids that weren't his age where he wouldn't be learning any of the general education curriculum. Um, he would be very limited to learning life skills such as tying his shoe, and he wouldn't have very many socialization opportunities. And this was very upsetting for his mom, who feels like he has so much to offer, and the bar was being lowered so far beneath what Jacob can do. Um, and I feel like with uh, the this accommodations, this modifications, this standards and access that we're talking about, they all come together and they're all important. And even though that standards seem like such a pain in the butt for us, um, they're really a way of us advocating for these students. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is to um, silence the people that are limiting these kids and showing them these amazing things that they can do. So that's all. Thanks, guys.